They called them invisible. Two women, always quiet, always cleaning. Nobody asked their names, nobody knew their past. But one evening, in a dojo just off Old National Highway, the black belts mocked the wrong janitors. What followed wasn't vengeance. It was revelation. A reminder that the fiercest strength often hides in plain sight, beneath uniforms stained with bleach and sweat. The studio opened early, always smelling faintly of old linoleum and new sweat. Fluorescent lights buzzed above. The mats held a stubborn layer of chalk dust that never quite came out. Every morning, just past 6, the twins arrived in silence. Jada locking the door behind them, Misha walking in with the same cracked purple lunchbox she'd carried for years. The box clicked open with a soft snap. Inside were 2 peanut butter sandwiches wrapped in wax paper, a small apple, and a folded paper towel. "It still works," Misha muttered, placing it on the break room shelf like a sacred object. Her hands were rough from years of bleach and mops, knuckles always dry, no matter the season. She reached for the bucket and mop, her knees cracking as she bent down. Outside the door, the younger instructors filtered in, earbuds in place, never nodding in their direction. One of them, Justin, tossed his gym bag to the side and mumbled, "Don't forget the corners this time." Neither sister answered. They rarely did. Maisha worked fast, her motions sharp, practiced. Jada followed behind, folding towels, scrubbing down benches. Their silence wasn't cold. It was full. Something unspoken passed between them with every movement, like dancers in sync. After so many years, words were optional. Later that morning, Jada stepped outside into the side alley behind the studio. Her phone buzzed with a low battery warning, but she scrolled anyway, finding, at the bottom of her camera roll, an old photo. Her, in a white G, medal around her neck, standing with her college team. It was a grainy picture, but the pride in her eyes was unmistakable. She stared at it for a long moment, then locked the screen and slid it into her back pocket. Back inside, Brian was barking again. Senior instructor, 4th degree black belt, always loud, always watching. "You," he snapped as he walked past Jada, not bothering to slow. "Don't get in the way this time, all right? I don't need you wandering around like you own the place." She nodded once, clipped and expressionless. Maisha's eyes flicked toward her, something sparking, but Jada held up a hand. "Not here. Not now." That night, long after the doors locked and the last student left, the mats still warm with the heat of feet and shouting, the sisters returned. Jada checked the corners for cameras just in case. None of them ever pointed this far back. Or so they thought. Maisha stood barefoot on the tatami, stretching slow, her spine cracking. Jada circled her, chin lowered. They didn't speak, just moved. The sparring began softly, like memory, then faster, harder. Their strikes landed with clean, controlled weight. They flowed together, precision over power, silence over noise. It was old muscle, old rhythm. The smell of the mat, the feel of balance shifting underfoot. It all came back, rushing in like breath after being held too long. Neither of them noticed the blinking red light near the office door. One camera, always left on overnight for insurance. It caught the whole thing. The next morning, Kelly, the studio administrator, watched the footage over black coffee. She frowned, leaning closer to the screen. "Hey," she called out to the nearest instructor. "Who are these two?" Justin glanced over and scoffed. "Those are the cleaners. They live down near Riverdale, I think. Kelly didn't answer. She hit rewind. Later that day, Meisha knelt near the edge of the mats, tying a loose strap on one of the training bags. A boy, maybe 10, stood awkwardly nearby, holding his belt wrong. Jada passed behind them, paused, then crouched beside him. "Put your weight here," she said softly, touching his heel. "And breathe from your stomach, not your chest." He blinked at her, then adjusted. Moments later, he won his round against a much louder, much taller kid. When the instructor asked how he figured it out, the boy pointed toward the corner. "The woman," he said. "The one with the braids." Brian didn't like that. He watched as 2 more students approached the women later that day, asking questions. Tips. Advice. He stepped in fast, arms crossed. "Let's not confuse things," he said, voice sharp. "These ladies aren't instructors. They're here to clean." No one spoke. "You got something to prove," he added, eyes on Jada now. "Then step up. Let's see what you've got. Right here. Right now." Meisha's mop clattered to the floor. Her breath caught. Jada looked at him. Just looked. "All right," she said. That night, in the center of the dojo, with students seated along the walls and instructors watching with narrowed eyes, Jada stepped barefoot onto the mat. She didn't bow. She just faced her opponent, one of the younger trainers, cocky and tall. He grinned. She didn't. The match lasted less than 2 minutes. Every move she made was precise, quiet. No show. No aggression. He lunged, sloppy. She shifted. He jabbed. She turned. And then, like a blink, he was on the ground, breath knocked from him. The room was quiet. Kelly leaned forward in her chair. Someone whispered, "Who is she?" That night, Kelly dug deeper, found tournament records, photos, a name. Jada Freeman, former regional champion. Spellman alum. Disappeared from the circuit after 2012. She printed the photo and slipped it into her planner. The next day, Brian stepped in himself. He didn't smile. The match started hard, his hits fast, deliberate. Jada blocked, moved. But she never hit back. Just absorbed, deflected. Eyes calm, breathing steady. "I said fight," he snapped. She stood firm. "You said show what I've got, not who can hit harder." Her voice didn't rise, but something in the room shifted. Even the kids noticed. Brian lunged hard. She sidestepped. His fist cut the air. "You're embarrassing yourself," someone muttered behind a hand. He froze. Jada stood still, waiting. She never raised her voice, never took the bait. Later, in the hallway, one of the senior students approached her. He'd seen her old fights. He remembered the way she moved. "I didn't know," he said. "You're not what I thought." She just smiled, faintly. Most people aren't. Kelly called them into her office that evening. Small space, cheap fan whirring overhead. The sisters sat stiffly. Kelly leaned forward, elbows on knees. "Tell me your story," she said. Not a demand. A request. They hesitated. Then Misha spoke first. "We teach kids," she said. "Saturdays, behind the church. No mats, just blacktop." "Why?" Jada shrugged. "They don't ask for much. Just someone to see them." Kelly nodded. "Would you consider if we offered something more formal?" Jada looked at her, quietly. We're not looking to climb ladders. You wouldn't have to. Just help. Maybe teach. They exchanged a glance. Then Jada said, only if we can keep the Saturday classes free. Kelly didn't hesitate. Deal. As they stood to leave, Kelly watched them, really saw them, for the first time. Something had changed, not just in the women, in the room, in the air itself, and in her. The studio had new eyes now. Some watched with curiosity, others with resentment. But all watched. The sisters no longer moved through the dojo like shadows. Their silence now held weight. Their story, once ignored, began to ripple. But with every ripple came resistance. Respect must be earned, and sometimes forced, from hands that never wanted to give it. The hallway was unusually quiet that morning. No one spoke as the twins arrived. Maisha adjusted the strap of her old gym bag, its canvas frayed at the edges. Jada walked ahead, head up, eyes forward. No mop buckets, no gloves, just them. They hadn't been officially introduced, no ceremony, no speeches. But their presence had changed. It pressed into the walls, softened conversations. A few students nodded now. One boy opened the door without being asked. Brian wasn't there. Justin was. He handed Jada a pair of gloves from the equipment rack. You'll need these, he muttered. Beginner class starts in 10. Jada took them. I'm not teaching beginners. Justin's jaw shifted. Kelly said, I'll work with the intermediates, she said simply. He hesitated, then walked away without another word. The first class was small, 5 teens, mostly quiet, mostly unsure of why this new woman was suddenly in charge. Maisha stood off to the side, arms crossed. She wasn't on the mat, not yet. Jada watched the kids move through a basic kata, then stepped forward, soft-footed. Don't copy each other, she said. Feel your own center. The students glanced at one another, confused. Again. This time, close your eyes. A few chuckles. One rolled his eyes. Do it, she said. They did. And this time, their stances held. In the office, Kelly watched from the window. Her phone buzzed beside her, a parent asking about the new instructors. She didn't answer right away. That afternoon, during open floor hours, a tall woman stood near the front desk. Polished nails, gold rings. She looked out of place. Her daughter clung to her leg, eyes wide. I was told you offer something special now, the woman asked. Kelly looked up. We do. The child was placed in Maisha's class later that week. At first, she wouldn't move. Stood frozen in the corner, arms tight around herself. Maisha said nothing, just knelt nearby. Then she began stretching, slow and deliberate, like breathing. The girl copied, then moved, then smiled. That evening, Brian returned. He didn't speak to anyone, just stood in the corner of the dojo and watched the girls teach. His mouth stayed a flat line. The next morning, Justin approached him near the lockers. You okay? Brian shrugged. They're not teachers. They're a statement. Statement? Kelly's trying to be a hero. Justin scratched the back of his neck. I don't know. The kids like him. Parents, too. Brian didn't answer. During sparring drills, one student, a quiet boy named Amir, took a hard fall. Jada was at his side before the others even moved. Roll your shoulder, she said softly, helping him sit up. You panic. You lock up. Stay loose. He nodded, trying not to cry. She helped him to the bench, her hand firm on his back. From across the room, a father watched. Later, he approached Kelly. "I don't know who that woman is," he said, "but she saw my son." Kelly said, "She sees everyone." The next week, the studio was crowded. New families, kids from nearby shelters. One social worker asked if they could enroll a group of girls from a group home. No funding, no uniforms. Maisha simply said, "We'll find a way." They did. Jada opened her trunk that night and pulled out an old duffel bag. Inside were spare GIs, belts, pads. Some stained, some torn. She held them up, inspected, folded what was usable. At the bottom, she found an old tournament patch. Spelman College Dojo 2010. She held it in her palm a long time. Word spread, not because of flyers, not through marketing, but through kids. Through bruised knuckles and new confidence. Through girls who walked taller, and boys who didn't flinch as much. Through parents who watched, unsure at first, then nodding slowly. But not everyone approved. One parent, a well-known attorney, asked for a meeting with Kelly. "I want to know who's working with my son," he said. "There's no bio, no credentials." Kelly smiled thinly. "You can sit in on any class." "That's not what I'm asking." She didn't blink. "And I'm not offering more than that." He left angry, but his son stayed. One night, Maisha walked past the janitor's closet they used for years. She paused, opened the door. The mop still leaned against the wall. Same one. She closed the door quietly. Jada found her later on the back steps. "You okay?" she asked. Maisha didn't look up. "I keep waiting for someone to take it away. Like it's not real." "It's real," Jada said. "You feel it, don't you?" Maisha nodded, eyes wet. "Every day." The next week, Kelly held a staff meeting. She introduced the sisters formally, called them Coach Jada and Coach Maisha. Some clapped, others didn't. Brian didn't attend. Later that evening, he cleaned out his office. No goodbye. Just gone. Justin found the nameplate in the trash. He didn't pick it up. A week later, Kelly made an announcement. The studio would open a Saturday program, free classes for low-income families, run by the sisters, sponsored by the community, staffed by volunteers. Someone asked, "Won't that draw the wrong kind of crowd?" Jada just said, "There is no wrong kind of kid." That silenced the room. They started with 6 students that first Saturday. By the third week, there were 32. The local paper ran a story with a photo. Maisha tying a belt on a girl with no shoes. No headline needed. The community noticed. Even the mayor stopped by. "You're doing good work here," he said to Kelly. She smiled. "I'm not. They are." That evening, after the last child left, the lights dimmed. Jada sat on the bench in the back room. The cracked lunchbox sat beside her. Mayasha came in holding a folded towel. "You still keep it?" Jada touched the broken hinge. "Yeah." "You gonna throw it out?" Jada shook her head. "It got us here." She placed it on a shelf above the lockers. Not hidden, not displayed. Just there, like memory, like proof. In the hallway, a student passed by and paused, looked at the box, then looked at Jada. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. They no longer walked in silence. Now their footsteps carried weight. The dojo had changed, but the world around it hadn't caught up. Some still saw only uniforms and skin. But respect is not given. It is built, one moment at a time, on tired hands, on soft voices that refuse to break. The sisters didn't rise to power, they rose to purpose, and it echoed beyond the walls of the mat. The dojo smelled different now, not of bleach or varnish, but of motion, of people coming early and staying late, of kids laughing in the halls and shoes kicked off in messy piles, of breath, sweat, growth. It was a weekday morning, gray light filtering through the front windows. Rain tapped against the sidewalk. Inside, a group of parents sat on benches, watching their kids warm up. Some held coffee. Some scrolled their phones. One older man folded his arms tight, eyes narrowed. "Which one of them's in charge now?" he asked another. The woman next to him smiled. "Both of them." He grunted. Jada walked by, clipboard in hand. He didn't look at her, but his granddaughter did. The girl waved. Jada smiled back. "Keep those feet up, Ashley. You're floating again." The girl adjusted her stance instantly. Across the mat, Maisha was adjusting a shy boy's guard. He flinched when she reached for his elbow. She paused, showed him the move on herself instead. "Like this," she said gently. "You're not a wall. You bend, but you don't break." He mirrored her slowly, then faster. Outside, the studio's new sign caught in the wind. Bold black letters on white. College Park Martial Arts. Underneath, smaller script added just last week. Home of the Freeman sisters. Inside, Justin set up cones for footwork drills. He worked quietly, eyes down. He still didn't speak much to the sisters, but he watched. He learned. After class, Kelly called a short meeting. "A few donors want to expand the Saturday program," she said. "We could add Thursdays, maybe even transportation." Jada sat beside Misha, legs crossed under her chair. "If it's growing, that's good, but no branding, no strings." Kelly nodded. "No strings." A pause. "Also," she added, "I was thinking we could name the South training room." Misha raised an eyebrow. "Name it what?" Kelly smiled. "You'll see." That weekend, the ribbon cutting was quiet. No press, no ceremony. Just a new sign on the far wall. Freeman Hall. Below it, stenciled in silver, the words, "The strength you ignore may one day lead you." The parents read it. Some nodded, a few frowned, but the children read it twice. Later that week, a girl from the shelter asked Jada if she could train every day. "I want to be like you," she said. Jada crouched to her level. "No, you want to be like you." The girl thought for a second, then nodded. One parent, a woman in a navy suit, approached Maisha after class. Her son had started 3 weeks ago. Used to flinch at loud voices. Now he was first on the mat every day. What's your secret?" she asked. Maisha shrugged. "We don't raise voices. We raise expectations." The woman smiled, then faltered. "I used to think you were just the cleaners." Maisha didn't respond, just looked her in the eyes. The woman blinked. "Sorry." Maisha's voice was calm. "You're not the only one." In the months that followed, the studio filled. Word spread. A retired coach offered to donate pads. A college kid volunteered on Saturdays. Someone built a website. They didn't ask who the women were anymore. They asked when the next class was. At City Hall, a new fund was announced. The Freeman Sisters Scholarship Fund. It paid tuition for girls from low-income families to train martial arts free of charge. At the press conference, Jada stood in the back. No microphone, no speech, just watching. Maisha elbowed her lightly. You gonna say something? Jada looked down at her shoes. They're saying enough. That night, back in the old locker room, Maisha dusted off a shelf and set down something new. A photo of the first Saturday class. 6 kids, all grinning crookedly. In the corner, Jada's hand held up a belt. The cracked lunchbox sat next to it. Clean. Still broken. Still kept. You really gonna hold on to that forever? Maisha asked, wiping sweat from her brow. Jada looked at it, long and quiet. No, she said softly, not forever. She opened it one last time. Inside, she placed a note folded in half. You are not what they see. Keep going. Then she set it on the top shelf, closed it gently. In the final class of the season, a girl from the foster program won her first sparring match. She stood thereafter, chest heaving, hands shaking. I can't believe I did that, she whispered. Jada nodded from the edge of the mat. Oh, believe it. The studio was loud with cheering, but Jada didn't move. She just watched the girl walk back to her group, eyes wide, steps light. At the back of the room, Kelly stood near the door. She caught Jada's eye. They didn't speak, but they didn't need to. Outside, the sun lowered behind the clouds. The pavement steamed. A breeze picked up, stirring the sign one more time. And inside, where the mop closet used to be, a new storage room stood, painted fresh, full of extra gear and folded G's. On the door, one new word in clear black letters: respect.